Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all, or good morning. Once again, welcome here to the platform of Awakening of Consciousness. It's making international headlines. All over the world, all the media are talking about it. That is to say, recently this is a first. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, has just shown the world his true face of being a terror leader. When we always say that everything happening in Africa, especially in the context of terror activities, when we say that President Macron is at the root, many think we say it just because we want to. Look very closely at this image. It's the headline of the news. This gentleman here, who was received with all honors, the Republican Guard, the red carpet, and everything that follows, even went for a stroll at the Eiffel Tower. There you have it. An extraordinary visitor. This gentleman, you see there, is the leader of the Dihadja from the Syrian side. He is the one who overthrew Bashar al-Assad. For now, I don't know if we should put it that way, but he was welcomed at the Elysée as the president of Syria. And it is Emmanuel Macron who acknowledges his power, who recognizes his strength, and is integrating him into the Assembly of Heads of State. Ladies and gentlemen, the French Parliament is very upset with Emmanuel Macron about this. You can clearly see that despite Emmanuel Macron desacralizing power, the very institution of the presidency of the Republic, Emmanuel Macron, is openly showing the world that he no longer needs to secretly support the terrorists. He is now publishing himself. So, this visit by this terrorist leader, who currently seems to be leading Syria, is criticized by everyone. And this is what we are discussing in this video conference, that I ask you to share as much as possible. Please share it in all possible groups. Make sure to give it a lot of likes. That's what it's about. So, the gentleman's name is Ahmed Al-Shar. This gentleman you see here, Ahmed Al-Shar, he was received at the Elysée this Wednesday, May 7, 2025, with full honors. It should be noted that Syria is currently led by a military coalition, or rather an Islamist coalition. Since the fall of Bashar al-Assad in December 2024, he is the one in charge. He is at the head of an Islamist coalition. So, today, Wednesday, May 7th, 2025, during a rare joint press conference, after a meeting of more than 2 hours with Emmanuel Macron, one wonders what was being discussed. More than 2 hours of time, Emmanuel Macron dedicated to this gentleman. They had a very good exchange. And it was then, afterwards, that they came out to hold the press conference. The true face of Macron. I ask you to share this video conference, share it. Our other brothers in Africa should watch this dissected video. Because when we talk about awakening the consciousness of African populations, many do not understand. Let's go deeper, especially give a lot of likes, because France does not like what we are saying. So, Emmanuel Macron during this conference asked this gentleman, Ahmed Al-Shar, to do everything possible to ensure the protection of all Syrians, without exception, regardless of their origin, religion, denomination, or opinion. He also told him that he must ensure that the perpetrators of the recent violence are prosecuted and judged. Ladies and gentlemen, who are those responsible for what happened in Syria? Isn't it this gentleman and his team? Isn't it? But who? Does Emmanuel Macron want this gentleman to pursue, judge, and condemn? perhaps the former members of the government. So, Emmanuel Macron did not stop there. Emmanuel Macron even advocated for the European Union. He is asking the European Union to systematically lift the sanctions on. No, rather, he is asking the European Union to systematically sanction the perpetrators of the crimes that have deeply shocked all the friends of Syria. That's what Emmanuel Macron is asking for. But honestly speaking, who are the ones responsible for sending many Syrians to their eternal rest? Well, it's this gentleman and his group. It's this gentleman and his group. So there have been massacres that have sent more than 1,700 people to their eternal rest. Mostly in the Oued, in the west of the country. That was in March. So then what needs to be said is that documents have been presented by NGOs that have raised doubts about the ability of the new Syrian authorities to control certain fighters who are labeled as extremists and are affiliated with them. That is to say, up until now, there are Jihad Jah fighters who are affiliated with these new authorities, who have seized power by force, who have taken power after sending several Syrians to their eternal rest. So, this coalition, the same Islamist coalition, is trying to present a reassuring face to the international community. And the international community is urging this coalition to respect freedoms and protect minorities. But Emmanuel Macron is inclined towards lifting economic sanctions. He advocates for lifting economic sanctions against Syria. So, he says that security, not him first. During the conference, Mr. Al-Shar, who says that the security of Syrians is the first priority. So he also emphasized that there would be no place for sectarian confrontations in Syria. So, and I just talked about all this. It's Emmanuel Macron who is advocating. He advocates for lifting the sanctions on Syria. So, but President Emmanuel Macron says he takes responsibility for Al-Shar's invitation. He said during his press conference, he says he takes responsibility. So, President Al-Shar has long led the armed group Hayat Tahrir al-Shar, which emerged from the former Al-Qaeda branch in Syria. He was keen to distance himself from acts of terrorism. That's Emmanuel Macron saying, that they have long led Syria, even if they are affiliates of Al-Qaeda. But they have been keen to distinguish themselves from the acts of terrorism. The acts of terrorism, especially those carried out in France. So Emmanuel Macron made a distinction between the acts of terrorism carried out in France and those carried out elsewhere. So, based on this distinction, Emmanuel Macron says that this is what justifies the invitation of Al-Shar. It should be noted that it was Macron himself who invited Al-Shar. So, criticisms though are coming from everywhere. I won't make you endure this ordeal, but criticisms are emerging from all sides. We don't even need to look very far. Here is a terror leader who is received at the Elysée. You therefore understand the mentality of France. That's why we must be very, very careful, dear ladies and gentlemen. Africans, let's open our eyes and understand the reality of our time. In any case, that was the headline news. I will return to you, by the grace of God, with new updates. This was the voice of your humble servant, Robert Théa.